Hi everyone, this is Laura. Happy Mother's Day week. I was doing a little bit of digging this week to see what I could find in the news media on the subject of mother's intuition, because last week I really kind of got my curiosity piqued. Right now, what I want to show you is just the amazing articles that I came up with when I just plugged in a very simple search for, just some really good examples of stories of mothers using their intuition with absolutely astounding and irrefutable effect. Because what I feel like we really need to do is, we need so much validation when we follow our intuition. How, as mothers, we are always second guessing our intuition. And we second guess our intuition for all sorts of reasons, but it's usually because someone in society has decided that they know better than we do as mothers in regard maybe to our children or to a choice that we have to make. And they're kind of imposing their opinion on us. And what a lot of us need to learn to do really well is kind of stick up for ourselves, trusting our gut instincts. And so this week I thought, and you know what? We do need a lot of validating for following our intuition, because we do get shut down. And I'm sure you guys have stories that are similar to mine from your own world. My personal family experience is as someone who is, rather out there in talking about how much I follow my intuition in my life. I don't really try to hide the fact. And I think it's kind of one of my missions in life, really, to help people get validation for following their intuition. So I'll just out and say it. If I have something that is a direct hit happen in my life, I'll mention it. I don't care who's really present. If they can handle the information, great. If they can't, then too bad. But it's amazing to me, even in my own experience, being probably more outspoken about the role intuition and intuitive knowledge has played in my own life. I get a fair bit of flack from, surrounding social circles and family as well on following my intuition. And I know for a fact, just by doing readings for a lot of you guys already, a lot of you guys are running into the same thing. When you really want to talk about the guidance of your intuition with your family members, with the people who it's really, really important that you share this stuff with. Sometimes it's very hard for them to honor and accept what you're sharing. And a good part of that, I really feel, is because it is coming from your intuition. And a big part of them, if they're anything like the rest of us in Western society, has been taught that people who talk about following their instincts and their intuitive hunches, must believe in all sorts of new age nonsense, and they're really a bit crazy and loopy. And it's almost laughable in some circles if you tell people that you're following your intuition. And so what I really want to allow to happen, it becomes really important for me to help you, to validate you, to show you how truly powerful and worthy of your trust your intuition genuinely is. So with that being said, with that very lengthy introduction, I'm now going to give you some of the most fascinating and the coolest stuff that I came up with when I just did a simple search for really good examples of people following their intuition to the point that it was newsworthy. And usually when something becomes newsworthy, it's for a couple of reasons. If you think about it, really, it becomes newsworthy because it was validated to a point where no one could really argue that it happened. And that's the case here in this first article I'm showing you, which is about a woman who was missing. Well, she was a girl. She was abducted in 1991 when she was 11, and she was missing for 18 years. The FBI spent a full 18 years trying to find Jaycee Dugard. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. The story is actually quite new to me. But this was back in 2009. And the story here is of the officer who actually solved the case. And it's a description, if you look up the Newsweek story, of her following her intuition. But in this article, she says, it was my police intuition kicking in, but I would say it was more of a mother's intuition. And her name was Alison Jacobs, and she just followed her gut and solved it. And the FBI hadn't been able to do that in 18 years. Now, here we have one of the other just absolute gems of an article that I found when I was doing my research on, just really good examples, validating examples for mothers of, just people who do use their intuition, because they're few and far between in our regular world. I think these examples are really something important for us to have. Just like when I was, actually, attempting to do a nice natural childbirth with my children, because those examples of really good birth stories just weren't really there in my own family, I sought them out so that I had them in my head and in my consciousness as possibilities. And I think that's really important for us to do when we don't have that so much in our regular day-to-day environment. So here's Jane Seymour. A lot of you guys probably recognize her. She was very big in a series over in the United States called Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, and she actually played a psychic in a series called Live and Let Die that a lot of you guys might be familiar with as well. And she's got this article in USA Today where she's talking about following her intuition being so important in parenting. She's a mother now of, I believe, 6 children. And she said, I've really learned to listen to the children. Mother's intuition can tell you everything with kids. Mothers have a 6th sense. You're in tune with your child. You can hear them calling for help. How cool is that? This is amazing. I found this article talking about how, and this is from a science study, a recent study that was published in a medical journal called PLOS1. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not familiar with this journal, but it is a published medical journal. And they have proven that because women carry the DNA of their children inside their own bodies, specifically in the brain, and they actually discovered this if you read the article, because they were finding traces of Y chromosome DNA in brains of the brain tissue of a mother. And it couldn't possibly be that this DNA was from the mother's father, because if that Y chromosome had been carried from the father, of course she wouldn't be a woman, she'd be a man. That's how genetics works, I'm told, in a nutshell. But here we're finding traces. So the only possible conclusion that they could come to was that this was from their sons. And so they're trying to find links between genetic explanations here for mother's intuition, and what they're actually being able to prove out in science, which is pretty amazing. That was an amazing article to find, just titled The Science of Mother's Intuition. And then I found this article on Discovery News about mother's intuition being the reason that the mother cited for a kidnapping being prevented. Someone broke into her home at night and was very silent upon entry, and she woke up, didn't think she'd heard anything at all, but just woke up in time to catch her daughter and the guy who had broken in and abducted her leaving the home. And everything ended up, peacefully and really turned out well, because of, what she was saying was down to her intuition that woke her up. And here's another article, a completely different story. And there's stories like this everywhere. This one's from Today Parents, and the title on this one's Mother's Intuition, Why We Should Follow Our Gut Feelings. And it's the story of Michelle Mathis, who just was really overcome by an intuitive sense around needing to find her 2-year-old daughter, and raced outside to find that her 2-year-old daughter was in the process of drowning at the time. So just amazing stories all the way around. This was actually one of my favorite books on childbirth. Robin Lim, in a book called After the Baby's Birth, Woman's Guide to Wellness. Here's just the most amazing quote from someone who really works with women's bodies and childbirth and all of the experiences surrounding our pregnancies and childbirths and young infants and babies and very young children seem to be our strongest stories of intuition really functioning well. Here's what Robin Lim says. There seems to be a deep, unexplainable connection between parents and children. Perhaps it's the byproduct of physical and spiritual bonding. How is it that a mother knows when her baby needs her? Why does a woman's milk often let down precisely when her child becomes hungry or cries? If anything will convince you that something in addition to the physical world exists, bonding will. And she's talking about that bonding between a mother and a very early infancy child. Here's an article from Deseret News. The headline is, "Moms Know Best. Doctors Say Mother's Intuition is Real." And it's an amazing article, very scary article, about this woman, Tammy Aronson's ex, abducting her two children. And she knew somehow while the incident was happening, even though she was away from the home, that something was really wrong. It's a really fascinating story with a very well proven out history there. ABC News, look at this one. Mother's intuition, Michigan mom predicted baby's near-fatal illness before doctors had a clue. There are stories like this everywhere, and it really didn't take long for me to start finding them when I started looking. Here's one from Pregnancy Magazine. Do you have a powerful mom intuition now that you're pregnant? And it's talking about just absolutely just cited over and over again through one study at the University of Arizona. Really very comparable to the findings at the University of Arizona. And the fact that the two different labs got similar effects suggests that it's not a fluke, says the lecturer who's talking here in this article. So, I mean, this is amazing, very powerfully documented stuff. And the role that intuition plays for mothers has been cited over and over again, sometimes in very life and death circumstances. The last one I put in here because, well, the mother's intuition really goes beyond, and there are so many stories about parents who have intuitive hunches about things going wrong in their adult children's lives, even if the adult children are thousands of miles away. And one of the very closely linked bodies of evidence that I started to come up with when I did this study on mother's intuition was around intuition for our military personnel. There's this story here in the New York Times that I've got on the page right now. The headline here is, "In Battle, Hunches Prove to be Valuable." And really what is being echoed here is that when something really goes wrong in our worlds, when something becomes a matter of life and death, especially, or someone that we are very strongly connected to is in grave danger, our intuition will scream at us. And this is a really powerful, positive sign. I think we've got about 10 different sources there that we just went over. But the really great thing about this is that it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt, even to very skeptical people, that intuition is real. And I think it's really kind of sad that our intuition only gets to scream at us and we only get to pay attention to it when stuff is really, really, really going wrong. It seems like a lot of these examples are great. You know, it shows that intuition is happening, but it's happening far too late, in far too traumatizing of a setting, that I really believe could be avoided in many instances hours, if not days or years before, anything getting close to this traumatic event would have had to have even appeared on the horizon a lot of the time for a lot of people. And the real focus of a lot of my intuitive trainings just happens to be, I have a lot of people who sign up, and a lot of the time I would say a vast majority of my students are mothers. And it's primarily through nudgings, through their careers as mothers, that they've slowly become more and more convinced that they need to be trusting their intuition, because we all have stories like this. We all have examples, like the examples I've shared with you here today. They're just, I mean, you can pipe up about, stuff like this at any meeting and any moms club meeting or a group of mothers in a room, and the stories are just uncanny, whether they're predicting the gender of their child or averting a disaster, like a lot of the articles talked about here. It's definitely a very real force, and I just think it's incredibly valuable for us as mothers, and for those of us who support and love mothers, to really validate how very important our intuition is. And what I'm doing with our Mother's Day package this week is I'm giving you an opportunity, if you have an important special person, a mother especially in your life, or if you're a mother yourself and you would like to really start tapping into the guidance that your higher consciousness has for you, I've got an intuitive reading package here today that you can grab if you're one of the first 90 people to grab it at this week. You actually get a beautiful sterling silver Celtic cross pendant at the end of this intuitive reading session. It'll be sent to you, and that pendant, the silver sterling pendant in the shape of the Celtic cross, is the same shape as one of the 4 readings that you're going to be getting from me in this 60-minute full-on reading package. It's 4 readings that we're going to get to chat about, and you'll get all of the information about the readings in a recorded format as well as a PDF download for you. So you'll be able to replay it time and time again. It's 4 readings in one. We analyze up to 6 family members' birth data to determine their soul types, and these soul types connect to some very important cards called Major Arcana cards in the Tarot, which is a system that I study extensively and use extensively in my intuitive readings. And I'll chat a bit to you about these types, the 6 most important people in your life are going to turn out one or the other of after we do that birth card analysis. That's one of the reading sections that you get from me. And then you get a full 7 chakra spread from me. In this intuitive reading, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at the energetic influences that are feeding into the 7 chakras of your energy body, or the mother's energy body if you're purchasing this reading package for someone else. And through looking at these 7 chakras, we're going to be able to tell what's going on, in a sense, with some experiences in life and how they're affecting you positively or negatively. And we're going to be able to come up with some wonderful energetic exercises, kind of like energy work prescriptions, out of this reading for you to take into your year with you to really bring those chakras into the best balance for you and for what's going on in your life. The third reading you get from me is the full 12-month zodiac spread, where we're going to be projecting forward in time from now 12 months into the future and getting you some specific predictions that are going to be able to help you throughout the calendar year. And then finally, we'll be doing the Celtic cross spread reading. And this is the reading that we have the oldest documented evidence of in the entire world. We know it was probably practiced and worked with long before this, but the oldest evidence that I can find that's irrefutable is about 400 years old and dates back to ancient Ireland. So we're going to be doing that reading, which is kind of a culminating reading, along with all of your questions in a full 60-minute reading session. And that 4 reading package is available to you today, along with the Celtic cross spread reading, but we do only have 90 of these available. If you'd like to snap one of these reading packages up, you should see a button below this video somewhere on this screen that you can click through on to order. I'll just take that button down when we've filled, but right now is the best time of year to really grab a great bargain on those 4 readings along with this gorgeous Celtic cross pendant. I honor the mother, the intuitive in all of you. Happy Mother's Day week, everyone. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.